Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's enjoying themselves today. Trying to figure out if I can work this clicker thing. Yay, I can. All right. I threw this on because, Michelle, when you give me the template that has sponsored by, I'm going to have fun with it, all right? But we're here to talk about working the camera, being in front of the camera, and just the best ways to help you, your blog, get out there. Because let's face it, in the age of the internet, there's still a lot of people that watch television every day. So the first thing is obviously blog awareness. That seems simple enough. How can people find you? Are you easily accessible? And I want to tell you guys a true story that happened not too long ago. Does everyone remember Amazon Prime Day? When they had all those great deals. My boss has said, we want you to do an Amazon Prime story. Try to find, some people who are using it and try to find a shopping expert. What is a shopping expert? I don't know. But we were talking about it, we're like, maybe we can find a shopping blogger. And so I was like, okay, I don't really know, how would I find a shopping blogger? So what's the first thing everybody does? You search on Google. Google wasn't too much help because when I searched NEPA, let me see here, click it, there we go. When I searched shopping blog NEPA, half the links were for Nepal. So that wasn't really helpful at all. Didn't really know, I was like, well, there's one up there that I can try, but everything else really doesn't pertain to what I'm doing. I'm not good at search engine optimization. Probably everyone in this room is better at SEO than myself. But that's the first step, is figuring out how to get yourself known out there. How is the average person going to be able to look at you? How am I going to be able to look at you when I'm doing that story on Amazon Prime Day? The simple thing, obviously, is are you on Facebook? Are you on Twitter? Those things seem simple enough, but you'd be surprised how difficult it can be to find you if we don't know where to look. Are you out there? Are you engaging with people about similar conversations? If there's a story in the Citizen's Voice or the Times Leader or any of other competitors that Michelle probably doesn't like me mentioning right now, are you commenting on those? Are you being interviewed for them? That's one of the easiest ways to figure it out. The next step with your blog is, and this I've run into many times, is there an easy way to contact you? If I go to your blog right now, wherever it is, if it's on Tumblr, whatever, custom made, is there a way to contact you on it? Because if there's not, I've moved on to somebody else. Every reporter has said, well, I don't know how to reach out to this person. I mean, I can comment in the comment section, but they probably check that once or twice a day. Now, I'm not asking you guys the best way is to put your phone number on it, because that's just opening the door to things you don't want to do. But are you someone who actively replies back? If I see you on, say I see you on Twitter and I see that you tweet, once a day, you don't really reply to comments, you're not going to get reached out. I'm not going to go to you and say, you're the one I want to talk to. So if I see that there's a history of engagement on Twitter and quick engagement, because you guys know how quick the world works. If we don't have what we want when we want it, we move on to somewhere else where we can get it. So let's say you've been reached out by the mainstream media, the press, any of those other terms that I hate that people call it. What do you do when you're on camera? For this, I wanted to give you guys some examples of interviews that have happened. I wanted to use actual television interviews, but knowing my luck, one of you would be in the audience saying, hey, isn't that my cousin? And then you would tell them that Clay said you were a terrible interview. So instead, I enlisted a couple of people from WNEP. And these are very characteristic interviews that do tend to happen. So let's hope this works. And let's hope you can hear it.
So what do you think of Michelle Davies?
Oh yeah.
Nice girl. What's your favorite part about her?
Oh, it has.
Friendly. Anything else? Courteous.
Well, that's a great freeze frame of Tom. Anywho, the question I asked all of them, which I probably should have mentioned, is what do you think of NEPA BlogCon organizer Michelle Davies? Now, despite the fact that that was very jerky and freezy, you could hear what Tom Clark said. It was a lot of one-word answers. It wasn't really helpful. Let's be honest, I wouldn't use the word great as an answer on a newscast. Those interviews tend to happen a lot with kids, but you'd be surprised how often it still happens with adults. Moving on. I had to get somebody else, so that is a great freeze frame of Joe. I will let him know that.
So what do you think of Michelle Davies?
Well, the word content she chooses is fabulous. The way she starts down here and then she goes up here and in between fills that gap with so much verbiage. She goes from highs to lows, and her structure and sentence grammar is great in the way that it almost comes alive at parts, and then other parts it's down here low and dead, and the content pops my eyes out.
I didn't tell him to say any of that. He just went off. But in that answer, you heard him, and he was talking, but did he say anything? No, he didn't really say anything. He just kind of rambled on. If I were to go and try to, cut down a nice little short thing, I would have nothing to use from him. So those type of interviews happen. So you want to kind of figure out a blend between saying absolutely nothing and basically freezing up on the camera like Tom Clark did, and Joe's essentially just rambling on. So let's go to John, who is too tall for the camera, so he's actually framed outside of the shot.
So what do you think of Michelle Davies?
Michelle's a really thorough engineer. Anytime you have a problem, Michelle's the one to go to. Even if you have the most mundane thing to fix, she'll find a way to do it. And she's got a great personality, too.
That was pretty good by John, wasn't it? And I didn't tell him to say that. He said that. So, but notice how concise he was on camera. Did he know exactly what he was going to say? Maybe, we don't know, but he had a general idea of what he wanted to say and how he wanted to convey it effectively on camera. When someone comes to you and says, "What's your blog?"
Mine?
Yeah.
WilliamJDeaton.com.
What do you talk about in your blog?
Outdoors, beer, skiing.
Perfect. I'm going to say I've reached out to you and I say, let's talk about craft breweries growing in Northeast PA. And you say, yeah, sure, let's talk, we'll meet wherever. You kind of have a general idea of what I'm going to ask you. What would you guess the question I would ask you? I'm putting you really on the spot right now, I know. This is part of the public speaking that goes with being on camera.
How have you seen it grow in the last 5 years?
Exactly. That was one of the questions I had, is how has it changed, how has it grown? But anticipating those questions and knowing what's going to be asked of you. Because truthfully, there's only so many questions they're going to ask you. They're not going to blindside you because, frankly, you're helping them out with their story. Unless it's a bad reporter, then in which case, don't do that. But have a general idea of what they're going to ask you and think about what are they going to say? What do I want to say? What point do I want to get across for that? Did I unplug something? No, of course.
That's good.
All right, that's fine. One of the questions I always like to ask people at any event, and it truly can work out, is for those who don't know what's going on here. That could apply to Amazon Prime Day. That could apply to the fact that a new microbrewery is opening. That could apply to a bald eagle being set free in Towanda. It can be a little bit of everything. Once you've been interviewed, let's say you've been on camera, what's next? You obviously want to do it again. You want to get as much brand awareness. You want to get yourself out there as best you can. As after you're done being interviewed, a reporter, just like anyone else, is going to go through and say, did I get a good impression from this person? Were they a good interview? Were they engaging? Did they sound, competent and good on camera? Were they easy to get in touch with? I can't emphasize that one enough. When you get put in the good column for that, you're set. Because frankly, they're going to keep coming back to you. And reporters, whether it's newspaper, television, radio, they're going to keep coming back to you because they know you're a good person that they can rely on. What ended up happening on that Amazon Prime story I had to do is I ended up going to one of our other reporters, Ryan Leckie, and asked him, I was like, Ryan, do you know anybody that'd be good to talk to? And he goes, yeah, Clay, I have 2 people that I remember and that I always go to when it's talking to shopping blogs, and they're always good on camera. That's what happens. Once you're in, you're set, and you're on camera. Going back a little bit during the interview process, I want to mention one of the last questions reporters tend to ask is, that's all the questions I have. Is there anything else you'd like to add? And that's your chance. That's your opportunity to turn the conversation where you want to. Is there something you forgot to say? Is there something you want to bring up? Is there something completely unrelated to what we're talking about that you want people to be aware of? You may have a flower shop entirely separate from your blog about brewing. I don't know if you have a flower shop entirely separate from your brewing.
Not yet.
Not yet? All right.
Not yet.
But say you have a fundraiser going on. Say you just got this rare flower, or at Syracuse University, they actually have a tree up there where they've started like meshing trees together and they've been like tying them together. But is there something else you want them to know about? Because that's the chance for you to help push whatever it is you're working on. So I always like to bring that up, like at the end, if there's anything else, bring it up. Because interesting people tend to know other interesting people, and they tend to know interesting things. So you got to keep that momentum going. I like to keep my things concise. So does anyone have any questions? Because I wanted to really open up on the floor, because this is more about what you guys take away from this. Wow. All the way in the back.
What was your favorite interview that you ever did in Northeast Pennsylvania?
In Northeast Pennsylvania. I did Noah Ritter recently. He was, everyone remember Apparently Kid? Yeah. We went to the fair with him, which was not my typical type of things. I tend to do more of the serious stuff, but boy, he'll wear you out. Like let's go on this slide, let's go on this haunted house for the 5th time. He's always a good interview. He's always a good person to talk to, just because you never know what you're going to say, and it's most likely going to be memorable. And Good Morning America is going to call you an hour later and ask you for it. So that did happen. Yes?
You mentioned being accessible. As far as if they go to your website and try to find you, is a contact form enough, or are you looking for something else? What do you like to see when you go to the website?
Contact forms can be a little hit and miss, and can kind of turn, at least me, it can turn me off a little bit, because it's like, okay, well, yeah, they're probably going to get an email on this, but like I don't know where it goes from there. It could go to your webmaster. It could go to somebody else. It could go to the person that's not in charge of the website. I've always been a big fan of email addresses. Even Google voicemail boxes, if anyone's have those set up, the just goes and it's like a Google voicemail that you get instantly. That's not your actual number. Those I've always been a big fan of, because then I know, okay, they have it, and most likely they've gotten the alert on their phone. So they're quick to respond. Yes?
Do reporters actually use media lists, like help a reporter out, or stuff like that as far as accessibility?
That is, I would say that's more on a case-by-case basis. I tend not to, but I know that if you find older reporters, they tend to use them a little bit more. That being said, if you're sending out something for an event, always make sure that you put who's the best person to contact on it, because then that will usually be the starting point. So, yes?
If you have an interesting story and you feel that someone like yourself might be interested in it, do you like being in contact, or how?
Absolutely.
Contact
Absolutely. You guys saw my Facebook and Twitter up there? Absolutely.
So if you have a story that you feel that everybody would be interested in, you just contact them and...
Let us know what it is and what's going on. And the key thing is I can always, the question that my bosses always ask me is, do people care? And if it's like, and you'd be surprised the range of stories. That doesn't have to be the house fire. That doesn't have to be the death and destruction. I had a parent in Berwick reach out to me recently and said, I heard about this kid in Berwick. He's doing his Eagle Scout project. And I'm like, okay, like whatever. And they're like, no. He's doing his Eagle Scout project because he got pieces of the World Trade Center that he's going to make an art exhibit in Berwick. Berwick was getting pieces of the World Trade Center for this kid's Eagle Scout project. That's the type of thing that people might not think to reach out to us, because it's like, oh, why would they care? But if you care about a story and you think other people care about it, chances are they will. Anybody else? Do you have a question? You don't? Michelle, did I embarrass you enough?
Yes.
All the way in the back.
What's the best way to contact you if we have a story that
Myself or anyone, TV news reporters, if they have a Facebook page, that's always good. I have a station email as well. But to be honest with you guys, that thing gets inundated with more like alert emails, like the Pennsylvania Turnpike alert things, or the spam from PR companies that are based out of Texas that want me to do a story on You laugh. That happens every day. We can scroll through my inbox if you liked. I always say that. Even just a simple tweet, if it's really concise, a simple tweet will always catch my attention. I'll respond back. But just, you know, when you send something out, just say, keep it basic. The who, what, where, when, and why. You know, who's the best person to contact about this if it's not you? You know, what's going on? When is this going on? If it's an event or something. So, yeah.
It's the worst thing that you can do being interviewed on camera.
Being interviewed on camera? The one thing I'll say about freezing up, because it happens to all of us, I hate public speaking, which is hilariously ironic given the job I do. But just not saying anything. I mean, just remember when you're doing on-camera stuff, you're having a conversation. I'm going to ask you when I interview you, don't look at the camera. Pretend that it's not there, because you and I are more likely to have a more candid conversation if you're aware that it's not there. And that's what it is. It's just a conversation. You don't want to sound rigid. You don't want to say just one-word answers, because then we have to move on to somebody else, and I feel terrible because I've wasted your time interviewing you, and then, you know, in some cases we don't use it. So, yeah.
Now, being on camera, I know a lot of us, I don't meet a lot of times Are there any exercises or things you do to kind of combat that, or is it more just getting comfortable?
I think it's just more of getting comfortable. One of the things I always say, and I know there's a lot of other reporters that do this, is when you're being interviewed, understand that it's a two-way street. You're helping me out by getting this story out there. So I like to say, you know, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and help you out. So let's say you answer a question, and let's just go back to the beer company. I think the beer business is really starting to expand. Something like that. There are ways that we can cut those out. Editing is a powerful tool that you can cut out the uhs and the ums. If you don't like what you're saying, though, say like for whatever reason you don't like what you're saying, just stop and restart. Most reporters will give you that like, hey, I'd really like it if you just gave me a second, just like recollect myself and start that answer over again. Can you ask the question again? And almost all the times reporters say, yeah, absolutely, because they want you to sound as best on camera as you can, because it helps better convey the story that they're trying to tell.
So no advice.
If you really don't like what you're saying, that's an easy way to make sure that they will not use it. So, anybody else? Now's the chance to shamelessly plug your blog and word it in a question. So. Yes, right here.
What about being, like, conducting an interview with somebody else? I know it's a full profession, but any quick tips about that? That's actually a great question, because you'll come across times where you are doing the interviews and promoting whatever it is you're doing. The best points, I was actually thinking about this today. Don't ask the question and start with it saying talk about. You see that enough in sports press conferences. Like if I were to go to you and say, talk about your thoughts on the Iran nuclear deal. You're gonna be like, I don't know, I'm supposed to give a speech, but I don't really know. Whereas if I were to ask you, you know, a question along the lines of like, you know, how important is this BlogCon to everyone out here? You'll respond and you'll say something along the lines of like, you know, it's really important because it gives us a chance to all come together and share advice back and forth, you know? And that little bit that you said after it's so important is the nugget you're looking for. So that's one of the go-to questions I always have. Anyways, wait.
I'm very bad at thinking of hashtags. I read the improv blog for the Lehigh Valley of Pennsylvania. How would you look for me? Like, what hashtag should I be using? If you're looking to find me, what would you use?
For the Lehigh Valley, one more time?
I write an improv blog,
okay.
Improv comedy.
Oh yeah, I did it in high school.
Yeah.
It comes in handy when you're doing television.
So, if you're looking for me, what hashtag should I be using so that would get you to me?
Improv NEPA would be really simple. I mean, if I'm looking to find you, and let's say we're doing a story about just, you know, there's an explosion of improv troops in Northeast PA, or, you know, say we want to talk to an expert about it because there's some new breakthrough in improv. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, just the trigger words. You know, improv NEPA, if I know I'm looking at the Lehigh Valley Improv, Lehigh Valley, keep those short and concise and just, you know, cast as wide open a net as you want. Good Lord.
Still alive?
I don't even. One last question, anybody? Well, thank you guys very much.